I am standing inside the quiet, private event finance office of my own foundation when the receptionist slides a rejection email across the polished desk. My heart beats steadily as I look at the name on the screen, Karsyn Vale. It is my cousin. Her wedding deposit has just been officially declined by my charity foundation. At that exact moment, the heavy glass doors swing open. Karsyn storms in with her full bridal entourage. They are all laughing loudly, their voices echoing off the marble walls. She is bragging about her elite rooftop wedding and how it will be the event of the decade. She is so caught up in her own hype that she doesn't notice me at first. She marches toward the counter, ready to collect her confirmation, only to freeze when she sees the refusal letter lying there. Her smile vanishes instantly. She snatches the paper, her face twisting in pure disbelief. The staff members remain perfectly professional, calmly confirming that her application simply did not pass our strict verification process. Karsyn turns toward me in complete shock. She has no idea that I am the one who signs every final approval. I don't say a single word. I simply look at her as the entire room goes silent. Earlier that week, the atmosphere had been much different. Karsyn had announced her luxury society wedding during a crowded family brunch. She sat at the head of the table, mocking everyone else's basic lives and acting as if she were royalty. She directed several sharp comments at me, implying that I was just a quiet background character in her glamorous world. She had absolutely no idea that I ran the very foundation she had applied to for a massive event. Sponsorship. I stayed quiet, sipping my tea, while she described the chandeliers, the imported flowers from Europe, and the list of celebrity guests she claimed were coming. Then she casually mentioned to the whole family that she expected a major sponsorship approval from the Evelisse Grant Foundation. My fork froze midair when I heard her say the name of my organization. She spoke about the foundation as if it were a tool she already owned, assuming they would be honored to fund her vanity project. I looked down at my plate, realizing that the file sitting on my desk back at the office belonged to the woman currently laughing at my boring career. She was building a dream on a foundation of lies, and I was the only one who knew the truth. I returned to my office at the Evelisse Grant Foundation, a place where I oversee multimillion-dollar charity event funding every single day. My identity as the founder is kept extremely low profile, by design. I prefer the shadows because it allows me to see the world as it truly is, without people trying to impress me. Only a few top executives know that I am the one who controls the final approval signature for every penny that leaves this building. When Karsyn's application officially appears on my desk for the final review, I already know exactly what she has been doing behind the scenes. I see the way she has tried to frame a personal party as a charitable endeavor. Most people see the Evelisse Grant Foundation as a giant, faceless entity that hands out money to the elite, but to me, it is a mission of integrity. I open her file and start reading through the digital pages. The more I read, the more my brow furrows. She isn't just asking for a small helping hand. She is asking for a fortune. She thinks she has found a loophole in the system, but she forgot that a person with a memory for family insults is the one guarding the gate. I prepare to dive deep into the numbers. As I look closer at her file, I am stunned by the outrageous demands Karsyn has listed. She is asking for a luxury venue that costs more than most people's houses, imported decor that requires special climate-controlled shipping and full influencer coverage. She has labeled all of this under a charity partnership, claiming the wedding will raise awareness for local causes. However, it is obvious that the only person getting any awareness is Karsyn herself. Even worse, she has listed several fake community impact claims to justify why a charity foundation should pay for her party. She claims she has partnered with 3 different local shelters, but my records show no such communication. My compliance officer knocks on my door and enters, looking worried. He tells me that the entire application smells like manipulation. He points out that the projected charity returns are mathematically impossible based on the costs she is proposing. She wants the foundation to pay for her imported roses while she takes all the credit for being a philanthropist. It is a classic case of an overinflated ego trying to use someone else's hard-earned money to buy a social status she hasn't earned. I realize then that this isn't just an application, it is a test of my foundation's rules. I am not a person who acts on impulse, so I quietly authorize a much deeper audit of Karsyn's wedding application. I want to be absolutely sure before I make a move that will change our family dynamic forever. As the auditors dig into the paperwork, something clearly doesn't add up. We find out that her fiancé's company is currently under a secret financial review for unpaid taxes. Even more suspicious, several of the invoices tied to the wedding planner appear to be heavily inflated. It looks like they are trying to overcharge the foundation so they can pocket the extra cash for themselves. The deeper my team looks into the digital trail, the more intentional the exaggeration feels. This isn't just a bride who got carried away with her guest list. This is a calculated attempt to defraud a charity organization. Every time I click a new link in the report, I find another red flag. There are fake letters of recommendation and forged signatures from vendors who don't even know she exists. Karsyn has spent so much time pretending to be elite that she started believing her own lies could bypass the law. I sit back in my chair, feeling a mixture of sadness and cold clarity. The audit is complete. The next evening, my mother called me, her voice filled with excitement.
She tells me that
Karsyn is finally doing something big for the family name by organizing such a high-profile event. She believes all the lies Karsyn has been spreading at our family gatherings. My mother even goes as far as to ask me if I can use my admin connections to support the wedding donation request if I hear anything about it. I say absolutely nothing. My heart aches because I can't reveal the truth yet. I can't tell her that I already control the entire foundation and that her niece is trying to steal from it. I just listen to her talk about how proud she is to finally have a successful person in the family. It hurts to realize that my mother thinks my quiet work is nothing compared to Karsyn's loud, fake luxury. The pressure is coming from all sides now. The family sees this wedding as a ticket to a higher social circle, and they're all looking at me as the person who should just be happy to be invited. I hang up the phone, feeling the weight of the signature I haven't yet made. I have to stay focused on the policy, not the family guilt. Meanwhile, Karsyn is busy telling all our relatives that she has already secured foundation approval. She is so confident in her lie that she begins posting elaborate mock-ups of her dream wedding online for all her followers to see. She tags the Evelisse Grant Foundation in her posts, using our logo without any permission. The pressure builds every hour as she builds her entire reputation on funding that simply doesn't exist yet. Our family group chat is buzzing with photos of silk share covers and gold-plated silverware. She is acting like the money is already in her bank account. People are congratulating her on her philanthropic heart, not knowing that she is actually the one trying to take money away from people who actually need it. I watch her social media stories from a burner account, feeling a sense of dread. She has backed herself into a corner. If the foundation says no, her entire fake world will come crashing down in front of thousands of people. She has used the foundation's name to get credit at other shops, and now the clock is ticking. She thinks her social status makes her untouchable, but she has no idea that the silent cousin is watching every single move she makes. Things take a much darker turn when my legal team discovers a massive violation. They find out that Karsyn has listed our foundation as a co-host sponsor on legal contracts with several high-end vendors without any approval from us. She essentially used our name to sign for services she couldn't afford on her own. That action alone violates our strict contract policy and could be considered fraud. I realize at this point that this was no simple misunderstanding or a mistake made in excitement. Karsyn fully assumed that because I worked there in a lowly position, I wouldn't notice what was happening or that I would be too scared to say anything. She thought she could hide behind the complexity of corporate paperwork.
She believed that as
long as she acted like she belonged in the elite world, no one would check the fine print.
But she
Forgot one thing. I am the one who wrote the fine print. I spent years building this foundation on a legacy of honesty, and I will not let a family member turn it into a crime scene. I call my lead attorney into the office. It is time to make a decision that will end the charade once and for all. I pick up my pen and sign the official rejection. I don't do it out of anger or a desire for revenge.
I
Do it because of our foundation policy. Fraudulent claims disqualify applicants instantly, and there are no exceptions for families. My hand pauses for just a second before I finalize the digital document, knowing the chaos that is about to erupt. I think about the brunch, the insults, and the way she looked down at my basic life. I realize that by saying no, I am actually being more helpful to her than by saying yes to a lie. The system requires integrity, and she has none. I hit the confirm button. The rejection is no longer a draft. It is a final, legal decision. I feel a strange sense of peace. I have protected the donor's money and the foundation's reputation.
I
Know that the moment this email hits her inbox, the Karsyn Vale show is over. I watch the green light on my computer blink, signaling that the data has been sent through the server. There is no going back now. The quiet cousin has just made the loudest move of her life, and all it took was a single signature on a digital screen. The system auto-sends the denial email exactly at 2 p.m. I sit in my office and watch the timestamp on my monitor. I know Karsyn's habits. She checks her phone every few minutes for likes and comments. Exactly 10 minutes later, the chaos begins. My phone starts vibrating on
the desk.
It's a call from Karsyn, followed by 3 texts in all capital letters. She isn't just confused, she is terrified. She probably just got a call from the venue saying their deposit was rejected. I don't answer the phone. I watch through the glass walls of the executive suite as the downstairs security team gets an alert. Karsyn is likely already in her car, speeding toward the foundation office to demand a correction for what she thinks is a clerical error. She still doesn't realize that the rejection came from the top. She probably thinks some intern made a mistake. With her elite application, I see my secretary's line light up. The storm has arrived at the front
door.
I take a deep breath and straighten my blazer. I knew this moment was coming, but seeing it unfold in real time is still intense. The wall of lies she built is about to hit the reality of my signature. Karsyn arrives at the office completely uninvited and absolutely furious. She doesn't just walk in. She storms through the lobby, demanding to see the manager. She is shouting about favoritism and sabotage, accusing the foundation of trying to ruin her reputation. She looks around the room with wild eyes, her bridal entourage trailing behind her looking embarrassed. The staff members are well trained. They avoid eye contact and keep their voices low, which only makes her angrier. She is making a scene in the middle of a professional environment, proving exactly why she isn't fit for a partnership. Then, she spots me standing near the finance office. Her face turns from red to a smug kind of purple. She thinks she has found someone she can bully into giving her what she wants. She marches over to me, ignoring the security guards, who are trying to step in. She looks at my boring work clothes and sneers. She still thinks I am just a low-level clerk who happens to work in the building. She has no idea that every single person in this room is waiting for my signal to either let her stay or have her removed from the premises. Karsyn begins to mock me in front of everyone, laughing about how I am working admin jobs so close to a real foundation. She tells her friends that I am probably just the person who fetches coffee for the people who actually make decisions. She demands that I take her to the person in charge right now before she has me fired. The room is dead silent. A director from the finance department walks over and stands beside me. He looks at Karsyn with a very cold expression. He quietly says, "She doesn't work here. She owns it." Karsyn actually laughs out loud, thinking it's a joke. She tells him he should get his facts straight before standing up for a loser like me. The director doesn't blink. He reaches over to the counter, picks up the rejection file, and flips it to the final page. He points directly to the signature at the bottom. Karsyn's laugh dies in her throat as she sees my full name written in clear, bold ink as the final approver. Her eyes go wide, and she starts to shake. The reality of the situation is finally starting to sink in, and she looks like she might actually faint onto the expensive marble floor. Her expression changes instantly, shifting from arrogance to absolute horror. She grabs the document with trembling hands and rereads the rejection over and over again.
My name
Appears clearly as the final approver on every single page. I can see the gears turning in her head as she remembers every mean thing she said to me at the brunch. The large, open room suddenly feels much smaller to her. Her voice drops from a scream to a shaky whisper as she asks, "You did this?" I look her directly in the eyes and nod once. I don't need to shout. The power of the no is already doing the work for me. She realizes that the cousin she looked down on is the only person who could have saved her dream, and I am the one who ended it. Her entourage is slowly backing away, wanting nothing to do with the fraud investigation.
Karsyn
Looks down at the paper and then back at me, her face pale. She finally understands that she didn't just lose a deposit, she lost her entire fake identity. The elite bride is now just a woman, caught in a lie, standing in the lobby of the person she tried to humiliate. The fallout happens much faster than I expected. Karsyn's fiancé's family hears about the denial within the hour, and they immediately begin questioning the entire wedding budget. They were under the impression that the foundation was covering half the costs. When they find out about the fraud flags, they are horrified. Other minor sponsors and local vendors begin to pull out one by one. Her elite wedding starts collapsing in real time, like a house of cards in a windstorm.
I
Received a notification that the venue has officially canceled her date because she can't cover the full cost without our grant. The imported flowers are canceled. The celebrity guests, if they were ever real, are being told the event is postponed. Karsyn is likely sitting in her car, watching her phone blow up with angry messages from her future in-laws. She tried to build a life on a foundation of air, and now the air is running out. My phone rings again. It's my mother. But this time, she sounds confused and upset. The family gossip mill is spinning at full speed. Everyone is trying to figure out how the admin cousin ended up being the one holding the checkbook and the red pen. As word spreads, the professional wedding vendors begin canceling their contracts after our compliance team issues official alerts. No one wants to be associated with a charity event that was actually a fraud attempt. Karsyn's social media engagement drops like a stone as rumors start to spread in her social circles. Funding denied for fraud concerns. The very influencers she bragged about are now deleting their save-the-date posts. People who were once jealous of her now whispering about her behind her back. She has become a cautionary tale in the local luxury scene. Her reputation, which she valued more than her own family, is falling apart in
public.
Every post she makes trying to explain the situation only makes her look more guilty. The elite tag she used so proudly has been replaced by words like scam and disqualified.
I sit in
my quiet office and watch the news feed. It isn't a happy moment for me, but it is a necessary
one.
She needed to learn that you cannot buy a reputation with stolen money and lies. The truth is a very heavy thing, and Karsyn is currently being crushed by the weight of her own deceptions. 2 days later, Karsyn corners me in the parking garage after work. There is no audience this time, no bridal entourage, and no influencers. She looks tired, her hair is messy, and her expensive makeup is smudged. She doesn't shout this time. Instead, she looks desperate.
She
demands that I fix it and tell the foundation it was all a big misunderstanding.
She tells me that.
My signature could save her marriage and her social life. I stand by my car, holding my keys, and I calmly tell her that I can't override policy, not even for family. I explain that she didn't just make a mistake. She committed fraud by using our name to sign contracts. She tries to argue, but I stop her. I tell her that the Evelisse Grant Foundation belongs to the people it helps, not to
Her vanity.
She stares at me, and for the first time, I see her realize that I am not the weak person she thought I was. I am the founder because I have the strength to say no when it matters most. She is used to bullying people until they give in, but she has finally met someone who values the rules more than her approval. I get into my car and drive away. For the first time in our lives, Karsyn's confidence completely cracks. She isn't the star anymore. She is just a scared woman who is about to lose everything. She starts to cry and she finally admits the truth. She exaggerated every detail because she didn't want to look ordinary in front of everyone. She was so afraid of being basic that she turned to crime to feel special. She confesses that she and her fiancé were broke and that the elite wedding was supposed to be a way to trick people into thinking they were successful so they could get more business investors. It was all a giant, beautiful lie. Listening to her, I feel a tiny bit of pity, but mostly I feel disappointed. She could have had a small, honest wedding, and everyone would have been
Happy.
Instead, she chose to treat our family like an audience for a play that she couldn't afford to produce. Her emotional breakdown is raw and real, but it doesn't change the fact that she broke the law. She keeps saying she just wanted to be someone, not realizing that she was already someone until she chose to become a fraud. The silence in the garage after her confession is deafening. The situation gets even worse when my compliance team uncovers something truly shocking. They find out that part of her initial wedding budget was already being diverted from a fake vendor account she had set up. She wasn't just trying to get a grant, she was trying to launder money through the wedding to pay off her fiancé's business debts. This is no longer just a foundation policy issue or a family argument. This is now a serious legal issue. If I don't report this, I could be held responsible for covering up a crime. I sit in my office with my legal team, looking at the evidence. Karsyn has put me in an impossible position. She is my family, but my foundation's integrity is my life's work. My lawyers tell me that I have to act. I realize that the elite wedding was actually a cover for a financial disaster. Karsyn wasn't just being arrogant, she was being dangerous. The fake flowers and the chandeliers were just a distraction from the missing money and the forged bank statements. I feel a cold chill. My cousin isn't just a mean girl. She is someone who almost used my own foundation to destroy me.
I have to decide how to
handle this before the authorities get involved. I am faced with two very difficult options. I can escalate the matter legally and let the police handle the fraud, or I can allow a voluntary correction if she comes clean to everyone. I choose neither of those immediately. I decided to give Karsyn exactly 48 hours to fix every single falsified claim she made. I tell her she must contact every vendor, admit she didn't have foundation approval, and return any money she took under false pretenses. If she does this, I won't press charges, but she will still lose her grant and her wedding. It is a harsh choice, but it is the only way she can save herself from a prison cell. I send her the ultimatum through a formal legal letter. I am giving her a chance to be ordinary and honest for once in her life.
I
know it will be the hardest thing she has ever done because it requires her to admit to the entire family that she is a failure in the way she defines it. I wait for the clock to start ticking.
She has
2 days to decide if her pride is worth her freedom. I hope she makes the right choice, but I am prepared to do what is necessary if she doesn't. The news of the ultimatum leaks out, and our relatives immediately take sides. It is a complete
disaster.
Some relatives accuse me of being cruel and trying to humiliate Karsyn because I was jealous of her success. They don't understand the legal reality of what she did. Other family members, the ones who always felt her arrogance, quietly admit that Karsyn went way too far. This time, the family brunch table, which used to be a place for laughter, has officially become a battlefield. My mother is caught in the middle, crying because her family is falling apart. I have to explain to her in private that I am actually saving Karsyn from a much worse fate. I show her a small portion of the fraud evidence, so she understands that this isn't a petty grudge. She is shocked, but she finally sees the truth. The tension is so thick that no one can even talk about the wedding anymore. The elite event has become a forbidden topic. I realize that being a leader means making decisions that make people hate you, even when you are doing the right thing. My 48-hour deadline is halfway over, and the pressure is at an all-time high. To my surprise, Karsyn actually starts cutting wedding costs overnight. The 48-hour deadline must have truly terrified her. She changes the venue to a small local hall. The guest list shrinks by more than half, and all the imported luxuries are gone. The elite wedding narrative she worked so hard to build begins collapsing publicly on her social media. She posts a brief, awkward update saying that she decided to focus on what matters most and is having a more intimate ceremony. Everyone knows what that really means. The influencers stop calling and the fake friends disappear. She is actually doing the work I told her to do, which shows she finally understands the danger she is in. I see her name being removed from the high-end vendor lists. It is a humble shift, but it is a painful one. She is finally living the basic life she used to mock, and she is doing it in front of the whole world. I feel a sense of relief that she chose the path of honesty, even if it was forced upon her. She is finally starting to act like a person instead of a brand. The Evelisse Grant sponsorship is gone, but her freedom is still intact for now. Just when things seem to be settling down, someone in the foundation office accidentally leaks the secret that I am the actual founder of the Evelisse Grant Foundation. It wasn't supposed to happen this way, but the story spreads online like wildfire. Now the public and the rest of our family finally understand exactly where my authority comes from. They realize I wasn't just a clerk. I was the one who built the entire multimillion-dollar organization from the ground up. My social media is flooded with messages. Some people are calling me a hero for standing up to fraud, while others are just shocked that I kept it a secret for so long. The news adds a whole new level of weight to Karsyn's situation. Now everyone knows that the cousin she insulted is actually one of the most powerful women in the local charity world. My privacy is gone, but my reputation for integrity is stronger than ever. People finally understand why I said no. I am no longer the quiet admin. I am the woman who owns the signature that everyone wants. The balance of power in our family has shifted forever, and there is no going back to the old ways. The social media narrative takes a sudden and sharp turn. Instead of having sympathy for the bride who lost her dream, people are now questioning Karsyn's entitlement and her false sponsorship claims. They are calling her out for trying to use a charity for her own vanity. The pressure mounts heavily on her as people she doesn't even know start commenting on her old posts, asking where the charity money was really going. She has become the face of wealthy privilege gone wrong. I see people praising the foundation for its strict compliance rules.
Karsyn
is hiding from the public eye now, her phone probably turned off. It is a complete reversal of what she wanted. She wanted fame and envy. Instead, she got infamy and judgment. I feel bad for her, but I also know that this is the natural consequence of her actions. You cannot lie to the world and expect the world to be kind when they find out. My foundation is getting more donations than ever because people trust that we don't let anyone, even family, cheat the
system.
The elite tag has become a mark of shame for Karsyn, while my quiet work has finally been brought into the light. A few days before the scaled-down wedding, Karsyn comes to my office one last time. This time, she is alone, and she doesn't have a single bit of anger in her. She sits across from my desk and looks at me for a long time. She finally apologizes. She says she is sorry not just for the fraudulent application, but for years of arrogance and for the way she looked down on me. She admits that she was jealous of my peace and that she tried to hide her own insecurities by acting better than everyone else. It is the most honest I have ever seen her. I can tell she has been through a lot in the last week. She has lost her elite status, but she seems to have found a bit of her soul. I listen to her, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I am talking to my cousin, not a character in a social media post. She doesn't ask for money this time. She just asks for forgiveness. I tell her that I forgive her, but that forgiveness doesn't change the rules. We sit in silence for a moment, and I realize that the silent reveal was the best thing that ever happened to our relationship. In the end, I decided to offer a bit of controlled mercy. I approve a very small amount of partial funding, not for luxury or chandeliers, but for a modest, honest wedding budget that is fully transparent. It is just enough to cover a decent meal for the family and a humble venue.
She
Accepts the offer quietly, without any of the old drama. At the wedding, she no longer brags or talks about society. She simply thanks me off camera for the help. I choose not to attend the ceremony. I feel it is better to let her have her day with the people who stayed by her side when the lies fell apart. I don't need the recognition or the thank you in front of a crowd. I go to my favorite quiet spot by the lake and enjoy the silence. Karsyn finally understands why I chose to
be invisible for so long.
She understands that true power doesn't need to shout, and that a real, elite life is one built on truth, not on a foundation of air. The failure cousin was the one who saved the family, and I am perfectly happy remaining in the shadows where I belong.